G'day and welcome to the Spirited Speaker series. In today's episode, we're going to talk all things marketing to the Chinese passenger and how we can deliver better customer experiences across the shopper journey. My name is Ed Stenning, Marketing Director at Beam Suntory, and I'm joined by the expert himself on this topic, Mark Tanner. Mark is the founder and managing director of Shanghai-based China Skinny and considered as one of the world's most foremost China marketing experts. He's worked with over 100 brands on their China strategy and also the author of one of the most read newsletters about marketing in China, which you, of course, can sign up for at his company website, chinaskinny.com. So, Mark, welcome, mate, to the Spirited Speaker series. Now, as we understand, the Chinese passenger will be the largest nationality traveling overseas in the future. And, of course, one of the highest dollar spends per transaction in travel retail. So an obvious priority we must focus on with our retail partners. So what trends are you seeing, Mark, more recently that can help us shape both the customer experience and path to purchase for PRCs?
Large they are, Ed. The Chinese spend more than double what the next biggest group, the US travellers, spend. So the world can be a little happy that Chinese are starting to travel again, unfortunately, just domestically. So it's happened in phases. When things were starting to pick up again in China, we saw Chinese travellers staying close to home, so in their own cities or neighbouring cities. And then following that, they started moving to provincial travel or neighbouring provinces, quite regionally focused. And now we're starting to see travellers go nationally to far-flung places such as Sanya, Yunnan, Tibet, and out west in Xinjiang. So a lot of positive movements, and a lot of this has been helped by a fairly aggressive travel industry here. Ctrip's been doing some really good promotions, some good live streaming. Similarly, a lot of the airlines have been offering deals. Spring Airlines, for example, offers all-you-can-eat flights for 3,000 RMB. So not a lot to travel for the rest of the year anywhere if you can get in. Obviously, some fine print, such as having to pay airport taxes. But overall, it's helped drive occupancy rates in hotels and airlines to around 80 to 90% of pre-COVID levels. But what's been interesting is travelling's actually changed since they've come back. There's both safety concerns and also preference changes. Consumers had a lot of time to reflect during the lockdown and think about what's important to them. And as a result, you're starting to see a lot of nature-related travel, people going to places that aren't crowded. A lot of that's safety, a lot of it's just change in preferences. You're seeing a lot more concerns around immunity and things like sanitary conditions in hotels. So a lot of them are advertising those types of things when they're promoting themselves to Chinese travellers. But the one good thing is they are still shopping. They haven't lost that love. And we saw retail sales in August grow year on year for the first time since the outbreak. And actually the first growth in retail we've seen globally since COVID. So positive, you're starting to see a lot of the luxury retailers doing incredibly well. Before the outbreak, most luxury purchases by Chinese happened abroad. Now they can't go abroad, so they're buying domestically. The likes of LVMH, their Q2 revenue grew 65% in China versus 38% drop globally. Kering, similarly, 40% growth in China versus a 43% drop globally. And the Haitang duty-free store in Sanya saw record sales globally during their promotion July through to August 18th, so 49 days. They had hit 5 billion RMB, so 730 million USD. Massive sales happening. Now, once things get back to normal, Chinese consumers are going to start obviously buying a lot of their things abroad again, and that's with good reason. There's more range, often much better prices, and you're already seeing some of the luxury brands pushing their prices up in China. And similarly, the status that comes with buying abroad, sending selfies and just giving gifts and things that have come from far-flung places. But a lot of what we have learned around selling to Chinese will apply. They're still going to use a lot of those Chinese touch points, and we can integrate them even if they are selling abroad.
Thanks, Mark. Now, next one. Navigating China's digital landscape and platforms can be slightly mind-blowing, to be honest, for some of those who aren't in it every day. What advice could you give us, Mark, that you can share regarding the various social and e-commerce channels used in China so we can deliver that great experience in duty-free that we want to?
Totally. I've been here over a decade, and China's digital ecosystem still blow my mind. I think everything we know in the West, we need to forget when we come to China because it is just so different. It's much more mobile centric, much more integrated between online to offline, and much more sophisticated overall. So I'm sure most people on this watching would know that every Western social media app except LinkedIn is banned in China. And they have this whole ecosystem of new and quite fascinating, quite wacky social platforms. So the big one is the big one regarding shopping is obviously payments. And you've got two giants there in Alipay and Wechat Pay, which are just massive. I know I walk into a shop in Shanghai and I pull out cash and they roll their eyes and another silly foreigner that doesn't know what he's doing, because it's just so unusual not to pay with your smartphone, or increasingly your face, but it's still mainly smartphones. But if you look at penetration of Alipay, it's up at 81% in China versus Apple Pay in America is around 9%. It's absolutely night and day. And as a result, you have this payments integrated into absolutely everything, both online apps, games, everything, and similarly offline as well. So really, really important to remember just how relevant and how resonating it is with Chinese consumers. The next, obviously, the big one is WeChat, which is just omnipresent in China. Absolutely massive, and that integrates everything from messaging, a lot of online to offline, because it is a mobile app, and just the types of communications and applications that you can do. WeChat mini programs has been the biggest growth story coming out of WeChat, and that integrates a lot of location-based and a lot of commerce-related products, even live streaming now. But if you look at WeChat mini programs, which is like a little mini, much lighter app, all within WeChat. So consumers don't need to leave the WeChat app to use it. It's very easy to access and very quick and convenient to use. There's now over 800 million monthly users for the WeChat mini programs. So very relevant, particularly for travelers. And the other big one has been live streaming, and that's just boomed. More than 2/3 of Chinese online use live streaming every month. It's just growing. It was already on trend, but it's just leaped since COVID. You're getting a lot of physical retailers who are really struggling with less footfall, or were prior to the recent uptick. But what they did was they used live streaming to really, I guess, build awareness, but most importantly, generate sales to accommodate for that fall in sales. So you walk through a mall in China and you see a lot of the shop assistants out with smartphones, live streaming, promoting these new services. It's become very popular in China and very relevant for a lot of retailers. So well worth considering. And obviously there's the travel-specific apps, so Ctrip and Alipay through Fliggy. They have quite specific location-based services. So a user can land in a city and it can make recommendations based on where they are. So good restaurants, good retail, and obviously using a lot of AI to make it quite specific to that user and based on their preferences and their historic behavior. So really, really good, worth utilizing some of these technologies and some of these platforms and touch points. They allow everything from coupons and vouchers to integrate into their app. But some really exciting things happening that are unlike anything, have much higher engagement than what you'd see in the West. So well worth considering because they are so important.
Last one for you, Mark. As it relates to delivering that delightful customer experience across the shopper journey we're all striving for, what cultural expectations and norms should we be aware of with the Chinese packs in travel retail?
It's a good question, Ed. It's been really interesting. At China Skinny, we analyze an awful lot of what's happening and the way the customer journey, the way consumers uh, research before they make that purchase and the advocacy steps. And we see an awful lot more touch points than we see in other countries, and a lot of them start as long as 6 months out before they go on their holiday to really understand what it is and where they're shopping, what they want to buy. And that comes down to three reasons. The first being a lot of that shopping for Chinese travelers is around gifting, and they want to make sure they have that perfect gift. So they're not just running into that duty-free shop last minute and buying something on a whim. They're doing a lot of research and making sure that gift will really make the recipient happy and obviously bring them status. Now, another reason they do so much research is an inherent lack of trust that a lot of Chinese consumers have. Whereas in most markets, you can take things at face level. You look at something, you look at advertising, you look at packaging in a store, and you just know it is what it's meant to be. But in China, they're ravaged with scandals and fakes and all sorts. So they want to really make sure that where they're going, they know it is what it is. So they do that research. And probably the third most important reason is a lot of Chinese travelers are still quite inexperienced. A lot of them are very new to traveling abroad. Language may not be as competent as other nationalities. So they really want to make sure that they get everything right. They're not going to waste time or go to the wrong place. So they do really do research to counter some of that inexperience. Now, something we've noted in our research at China Skinny is just how varied travellers can be across region and across demographic. And as I said before, a lot of Chinese are quite new to the travelling game, whereas there's also a lot, particularly in tier 1 cities, that have been travelling for a long time now. And they'll have many trips a year and they'll be incredibly confident in the way they travel. So obviously we don't want to have the same messaging and the same touch points for all of these different demographics and regions. It's really important to localize communications and strategies based on this. Now, something that is really important with Chinese travelers is that O2O experience. That's something they get at home. If you go into a lot of retail stores now, there'll be this really rich, really integrated mobile experience, a lot of digital, a lot of screens. And that's coming down to e-commerce is really growing. It's between 25 to 30% of retail sales, depending on whose measures you use. And so a lot of these retailers are fighting back and they know they have to enhance the experience and give things that people can't get through online shopping. And a lot of the big online e-commerce giants are also investing in a lot of their stores and integrating a lot of their data and technology into physical retail. If you look in the grocery category, for example, 7 out of the top 10 biggest grocery chains in China are either owned or in a really close partnership with Alibaba or Tencent. And a lot of this integration between online and offline incorporates delivery as well. So delivery is just an expected part of shopping for many Chinese. They don't have cars or they use a lot of public transport. So they want to expect things delivered to their house. And in many cases, that's delivered within 30 minutes. So as a traveller, they expect similar delivery. So although it can't be 30 minutes coming from abroad, they'd expect when you buy it, they just don't have to worry about it. It'll get delivered to their door when they get home. So really important to really meet those expectations that they have from shopping at home, and also give you an edge over a lot of those other retailers that may not be doing that.
Mark, this has been awesome. And I know many of us really welcome your insights, and we probably could have been here for a few hours longer. So just a massive thanks from all of us at Beam Suntory. And I know this has been valuable to us, as I'm sure it's been valuable to our retail partners. So folks, that's it from us on the Spirited Speaker series today. Any questions you might have, any feedback you might have, or any speakers you'd like to hear from, please reach out. We'd love to hear from you. So that's it from my Madrid COVID bunker today, and thanks for joining. So cheers.